Namaste and welcome to this LinkedIn Live. And today we have gathered here to celebrate Father's Day. Okay, so before we introduce, we have certain great introductions for you, for everyone joining us live from different parts of the world. In most schools, fathers are treated as the silent partners, relegated to signing report cards, paying fees, or acting as the household enforcer. Yet, active, hands on fatherhood is a major catalyst for a child's resilience, risk assessment skills, and creative confidence. This Father's Day special session, we will explore how progressive school leaders and space designers can break old stereotypes. By the way, Father's Day is celebrated around the world to honor fathers and father figures. While the date varies by country, many celebrate it on the third Sunday in June. And today, on 3rd July, this LinkedIn Live is dedicated to celebrating fathers. And before I invite the guest panelists, let me dedicate a nostalgic and sarcastic poem for all our father figures. हर घर में एक पापा होते हैं जो बचपन में हमें कंधों पर बिठाकर पूरी दुनिया दिखा देते हैं और बड़े होते ही कहते हैं सीधे चलो वरना कंधे टेढ़े हो जाएंगे जिनके स्कूटर की पिछली सीट हमारी पहली बिजनेस क्लास थी और उनकी एक आवाज मजबूत से पकड़ना जिंदगी का पहला लाइफ लेसन थी जिन्होंने साइकिल चलाना सिखाया फिर स्कूटर फिर कार और बीच बीच में बस एक ही डायलॉग दिया रोड पे ज्यादा हीरो मत बनना जिन्होंने बचपन में हेयर स्टाइल का मतलब ही खत्म कर दिया सैलून वाले को बोल दिया इसके बाद इसके बाल तो छोटे ही काटना और हर फोटो में वही डिसिप्लिन्ड हेयर कट जैसे स्कूल नहीं आर्मी ज्वाइन कर रहे हो जो घर में डांटने का एनुअल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लेकर आए थे लेकिन बाहर मेरा बेटा मेरी बेटी बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं ये कहना कभी नहीं भूलते थे जिनके दिन की शुरुआत चश्मा ढूंढने से होती थी और फिर न्यूज़पेपर खोलते ही लगता था देश की इकोनॉमी भी इन्हीं के परमिशन से चलेगी और संडे को कभी चाय कभी पोहा कभी वो स्पेशल डिश जिसका टेस्ट आज भी यादों में फ्रेश है और फिर आता है हर इंडियन पापा का टेड टॉक हमारे जमाने में ना गूगल था ना यूट्यूब ना एसी ना एक्सक्यूजेस और पता नहीं कैसे हर बार वो कहानी हमें थोड़ा और रेजिलिएंट बना जाती थी उन्होंने सिर्फ घर नहीं चलाया हौसला चलाया सिर्फ फीस नहीं भरी सपनों में इन्वेस्ट किया सिर्फ मुश्किलें नहीं उठाई उन्हें दरवाजे के बाहर ही छोड़ दिया कभी आर्किटेक्ट बनकर हमारे फ्यूचर की नींव रखी कभी डिजाइनर बनकर हमारे वैल्यूज को शेप दिया कभी टीचर कभी ड्राइवर कभी शेफ कभी बैंकर कभी बॉडीगार्ड और जरूरत पड़ी तो सुपर हीरो भी और शायद इसीलिए पापा कभी परफेक्ट नहीं होते पापा बस पापा होते हैं उन सभी फादर्स के नाम जिनके कंधों पर बैठकर हमने दुनिया देखी और जिनकी सीखों पर चलकर हमने अपनी दुनिया बना दी हैप्पी फादर्स डे टू ऑल दोस फिगर्स and I welcome you all to this LinkedIn Live specially organized by CIVOM, and I'm happy to be contributing as a moderator. I am Akshay Bajaj, and I serve as the co-founder of Global Learning Space Network. And I'm quite delighted to welcome the panelists today. The Nature Integrated Architecture Voice, Architect Ranjit Swamy, who serves as the Principal Architect at Bayastudios. Then comes, thank you so much, Ranjit, for joining us. Then comes the social emotional learning and school leadership voice, Mr. Abhinay Singh, who will be joining us very soon. He serves as the director at Brighton International School. And then we have the space and design perspective from Mr. Yogendra, also known as Yogi Patidar, who serves as the director of CIVOM.
Hello everyone, Namaskar.
So let's begin this awesome conversation around the theme today. So we'll have four themes today to discuss that we will be discussing in this 60-minute session, and every panelist will have some 5 or 7 minutes to present their perspectives, and then we'll shift to the other perspectives of the other theme. So on first we have the invisible parent and organic design. Why does default school communication still say "Dear mothers"? How do we bring fathers into the nurturing narrative of learning? I guess this reminds me of the remarks I used to get in my handbook of "Dear mother, please attend to your pupil." So Ranjit, I take it over to you. Please share how to bring a nature-integrated architecture lens to family and educational environments, and how designing fluid, curvilinear spaces that mold around nature, similar to the philosophy behind Eden Kindergarten, co-creates a canvas for organic, unforced, shared discovery. Over to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. See, what happens is when we say nature integrated spaces, nature is
Ranjit, could you
always
please take it a little closer?
yeah, yeah. Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah,
Audible? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Nature integrated spaces it's always has its own pattern. They have their own
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, it's like it follows its own path. What we can do is we can interpret from our point of view and the design. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
you're audible. You
Yeah,
can either be
yeah.
loud or keep closer.
Okay. See, when I'll explain from my point of view the Eden Kindergarten project, how we uh, try to achieve that in our approach towards this design. See, when we are approached from the client to take over to do this project, when we visited this site, because this site had a beautiful well matured trees, it's mango trees and a few coconut trees. These mango trees were like the canopies were spreading all over the site. When I saw it at the first glance, I decided, okay, let's not disturb the existing microclimate is already existing. So what we decided was that in our intervention with the classroom, close around the building space. Sorry, existing natural elements like were there already there present inside. So by doing that, we created the curvilinear blocks which were uh, anchored to the gate. Once this internet was done, patient that space was naturally became very so, so automatically started working and ready the site purchase.
So also, can we see the project? If that's there.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
is there? Uh,
Yeah, I would request the backend team to please present that project.
yeah, yeah. Next, yeah, it's the one. Um, so here tried uh, keeping the nature's element as much as possible so that humans feel they are part of the nature. So every blocks which we integrated into this content and creates own spillover spaces where they can move around freely. Yeah, yeah, we can see that in this the next slide, the, the, the next, uh, the, that parents like having a discussion that over there. And
Can you go to next slide?
yeah, this is the dialogue which we wanted to create between our intervention and uh, existing piece over there. It creates the circle in the pattern created natural pockets which children like to play around in that space.
This.
Yeah, these are just some to show how the informal spaces can be incorporated into the built environment so that they can feel a part of the nature. This does not only for the kids, even for the parents, they can also be feel as a part of this. This interactive space, the next space, there here. This is the terrace on the top. This acts as the gate to the so the
Yeah, your voice is audible, but it's very slow. Could you please take it closer, or you can speak louder a little?
Yeah, can you? This is audible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the previous slide.
Uh,
That,
Please take to the previous slide. Uh, Previous slide, not the next one.
it's the interactive spaces. Interacting with
Even
nature,
before this one, informal one.
informal. This is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
informal. Yeah, this is a informal area where they can have a discussion, dialogue with the teachers, where alongside the kids can play around. They can have a like they can even pluck the leaves, the mango trees. The mangoes are very much like can really do it. So these type of activities create uh, uh, very much quite
Great. Yeah.
and we took a these are all actually we took a liberty of adding AI images. These along this kids, parents are all added through AI images to convey what we want, what we intend to.
Mm.
Yeah, these are this exploring of the metals. Like when we say about the kids, they like to feel, touch, and explore. Basically, it might be the light and shade, might be the colors, might be the
Mm.
texture, but
Mm.
or visually, they like to
Mm.
actually they like to explore on all aspects. That's the reason we try to create keep our design with rustic and very vibrant colors of like on every classroom has different colors like yellow, red, green, blue, all these type of colors like we have introduced. Yes, these are these slide indicates like this even at the central the space between the classrooms are not cut off. It's visible. The
Mm.
that kid can easily connect to the other class. It's not. It's there is no visual barrier. Right? It's basically
Mm.
more of an interactive space.
Next, please.
Again, it's part of the interactive space where the children can wait till their parents come and pick them up, or it can act also a waiting area for the parents.
Mm.
And whenever they have a meeting with the teacher.
Mm.
Again, this is a more of informal space on the upper floor. Till they meet, they have it acts as a waiting lobby, informal waiting lobby. For the meeting with the teachers or on the parents, which I explained earlier slide, on the top of the
Mm.
on the terrace floor.
Mm.
Yeah, again, same.
Nice. Mm.
This is the activity which actually conducted in our the
Mhm.
where her mothers were more involved, but we can make a space where there is a lot of interactive spaces, which encourages fathers to
Mm.
build, to stay, to explore the
Mm.
spaces.
Next,
It's done.
Yeah, done.
lovely.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Really amazing work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Impressed. So yeah, you actually told the actual lessons of how to integrate nature into the classrooms, and you also told how to involve parents, especially fathers and mothers, and the spillover areas were quite nice.
Yeah, basically,
Um,
what I felt was like the spaces what we design is more of a general neutral.
mhm.
It all
Mm.
depends on us how we integrate things with parents, like father, mother, like how to create activity. That's how it works.
Right, right. Nice, very nice explanation and very nice start to the session, Ranjit.
Thank you.
And now let me move to Abhinay sir. Abhinay sir, thank you for coming and joining right now. And we gave you your introduction recently. So, so we have a question coming up to you. You right? The institutional default in schools today. How school leaders unconsciously sideline fathers, and how we can structurally change school to home communication to invite fathers back to school. Sir, could you please check your mic once? No, I guess no.
Am I
I
audible
can just
now?
read your lips. Yeah, perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yeah. So I think the notion is pretty right when we say that mothers have taken precedence over father in terms of communicating with school. I think the way we all have grown up and now with mothers getting more educated and taking more calls in terms of selection of the school and everything, they are the one who are at the center of child's education at least up till class 8th, 9th. Post that, when they start making calls with regard to their careers, that's where the fathers get involved. So even when we look at the parent-teacher meetings, it's the mothers who kind of keep coming. It's only when they kind of mature, when they go to their higher secondary, we start looking at fathers coming and playing a part. So yeah, that's where it is. And Ranjit, thanks. It was lovely to see your work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Akshay. Any
So,
more?
sir, what are
You want me to continue with
yeah,
something
yeah.
else?
So, what are the yeah, like you told that fathers should be invited. Like, could you please suggest a few like structural changes that we should bring in that communication?
So I think a lot of it centers around parenting and how does each of the the people involved, being a parent, the father and the mother, kind of play a role, and how do they work with the school to make it possible. So the triangular communication between the school, the father and the mother, it's mostly what happens is father let the mother know what they want, and then the mother becomes the mouthpiece for the father to come and speak to the school. It only when it reaches a certain amount of friction, and that's when the fathers get involved. When it times to get a little more aggressive about whatever school is trying to do. As far as the junior classes goes, I think fathers still keeps their distance when it comes to talking to teachers. It's mostly because these are young teachers who are teaching the junior classes. So that is where father keep a distance, saying, why don't you speak to her? Why don't you ask her this? Why don't you ask her that? I think in all of this, as schools, we need to try to create a discourse around parenting a lot more than what we do. And a lot of schools which CIVOM works with, we work with, we ourselves are running our day schools, where the interaction between the parent and the school only happens during the parent-teacher meeting.
Hmm. Agreed.
And the topic which you're covering today about fathers, that can work only when we create more opportunities for people to come to school beyond the formal interaction. Now, that becomes very difficult for us to create these opportunities in school. With the way the school goes and the amount of time we get to spend, from about 210 days which CBSE asks us to conduct, we barely conduct about 180 days of school. And within 180 days, about 30 odd days goes into evaluation, assessments and stuff. So what we are left with is about 150 days in which we have to conduct, everything around it. So if you convert that 150 into in terms of months, that's barely about 5 months.
5 months. Hmm.
So, schools are also stuck. They really want to do that. But how do you create these opportunities for people to come in during their working hours? That also becomes a challenge. So these are the challenges, but essentially we have to get more people involved who are involved with the child's life, and obviously father has got a lion say, in whatever is happening. School needs to create, there are lovely ideas what they do in US in junior classes, where they call in father who speaks about whatever career they are into, and they tell children about it, whether it be a firefighter or is an insurance agent or a banker or whatever. I think there are certain ideas like that. There are ideas where people come and narrate stories in kindergarten. There are ideas like that, and especially to do with sports. With now more and more kids are getting into sports.
Hmm.
Them in order to create like a suggestions around which the do with academics or we do with sports.
So, while you were saying that school should create more opportunities for fathers to visit schools even during the working hours, I did got reminded of my own days when my father was called to the school by my teachers whenever I was caught in the mischiefs and all the notorious activities, rather than just being at the parent teacher's office. I hope you all must have also had those experiences.
Yeah, that's what it is. Things have not changed much. But more and more fathers are becoming much more sensitive to the idea of parenting. We see a lot of more people now coming up and speaking about the finer aspects of parenting, sensitivity, the way the child thinks about their insecurities and stuff. So I think the tide is changing. Obviously, it needs to grow with a faster pace, but it is changing.
Nice. Quite a grounded answer from drawn from the experiences. Thank you so much, Abhinay sir. And now let's move on to the next theme, that is the science of play and spatial trust. And the big question that is coming here is fathers and children often bond through physical, active, and sometimes messy play. How does rough and tumble play build risk assessment skills, and how do physical spaces support this? Yogi, so in this regard, I have a question for you. Please share your thoughts on designing spaces that invite physical interaction, creating maker spaces, backyard workshops, or active school sandboxes that encourage dads to get down in the dirt and build with their kids. Over to you.
Great. Thank you, Akshay. So before I go there, I often say, children don't grow in homes or schools. They grow among the people around them. So that's where most of the things lies. Okay. So when you really talk about being father is not showing their love to their children, because that's there. It's an always invisible form of father doesn't generally express as a male thinking. But how do you really create those opportunities to make it visible? And I think, like you said, this messiness and all of that, where toughness is what father comes around. So there was a research which was long back I was working around. The research says mothers get to be mothers first, and their sensitivity to motherhood is much early when that's into a prenatal stage. Okay, because it's a biological connection, versus fathers doesn't get that connection. So I've been myself a father, and I know first 3, 4, 5 months I couldn't connect it out. Even after the birth, I couldn't connect out. But post birth, when you hold that kid in your hand, okay, that's where the father's reflection start different, connecting differently. So scientifically, fatherhood starts connecting when they start holding the kid. Okay, when they start becoming more protective. So there is a research which says fathers protective instinct start becoming much finer and higher when they have the kids in their hand. So when they drive the car with their kids, it is differently, which when they were not the fathers. Okay, and that spike is very different. Okay, so there are a lot of biological tuning which comes to us as a provider or as a connection, and it is not activated till the point you don't hold the kid. And it's very rare in the male part of it to get activated, and emotional side of it. Some of it definitely has this, but most of it doesn't know. So the point is, the way we are being grown as a male, we are always been told to from a societal and cultural viewpoint, we're always told to be tough. Okay, you don't need to break your emotions faster and everything, in and around. You have to be provider, you have to be protectors, all of this is there. Okay, and in that course, that emotional connections starts losing down in that path, and it's very hard to build. And the moment you have hold the kid, it starts rebuilding around it. So this tuning into the school community versus the father, it needs little higher ice breaking. Okay, because if if the ice breaking could be much higher for father, they can entail or they can involve more. They would always like to do it. Okay, but that ice breaking is because that's a long distance which is need to be covered around. Okay, along with the responsibilities and accountabilities on the financial front and economic fronts also. Versus now, when you talk about spaces to be designed around this toughness, so I will say creativity is messy. Okay, if father got involved in the project creation in early times and you go into the houses, they would be putting that messiness. Mothers are more uh, more clear, organized, versus fathers are more you know see, if you we are in the hostels, I've been into the hostel, most of us been to the hostels, and the moment you see our rooms, you can get how do we really stay.
I
Yeah.
remember.
So our houses becomes homes when a female gets into the houses. Okay. So
True.
our native expression is messy. Okay. We always it says when you see the symbols of male and female, fathers are always looking at the or males are always looking at the higher order approaches, whereas females are more onto the lower order approaches, which is more bearing, more holding. Versus fathers are being more, outwards, achieving. That's where they try to see. So they try this two ends are there, and that's the balance which comes out when both of them comes together. So females lift it up, and fathers get down and balance it around. So in that spaces, when you see the whole toughness approach is one, because it's coming from cultural side, but it is not necessarily that that's the only way we can teach them toughness. Okay. When you create spaces, it is like Ranjit clearly said, it is gender neutral approaches. Okay, and it would be not true that if we go by this biases around that, we should go by I would say research driven approaches, that why it is happening and how that sense of space is making that connection, rather than assumption based cultural biased approach. So when you have this rationale that like I said, ice breaking for fathers is much better. So if you give them a messier place, okay, because they have not opened up and they've been acquainted to that kind of environment, and then give kids to them in that particular spaces in schools, would have a better reflection or better connection. Okay, so that's the strategy which we need to look at from the discovery which we are having, the parent community which we have. I also suggest a lot of times schools, when we're designing those spaces, how many school is going to their houses. Okay, if a school community goes to houses and take a survey, so there is another research which I was going to quote you. What people say versus what people do is two different parts, and the deflection is very different. What we say is more of aspirational. What we do is more of practical side of it. So whenever I speak, I'll speak more aspirational rather than the actual condition. So idea is when you question them individually, it would be different part, but when you observe in their houses, it would be very different strategy. So when you observe, go into their houses, and then you start making connections. So questions plus observation has to have a connection between this. So when a school committee goes to houses, they would be able to see and then put into a strategy more smoother way, not a direct, but an indirect, more implicit way, and then the designing of the space would get a better reference, and which is where you can get fathers involved into this strategy. So a lot of schools now doing theme-based learning. So like Mr. Abhinash said about giving the role plays. Okay, I would also say giving so theme-based learning. There was a school we were working around which is on festival and celebrations. Okay, so there festival and celebrations, whatever they spend in their houses. So fathers are coming and sharing their experiences as child. What was been cooked, what was the music like, how do they celebrate, what is their approaches. By this you are making them a global citizen also. So different religion parent coming, showing their thinking. Okay, a young mind start accepting everything. So that way that lot of strategies can be brought down. So ideas, if we involve that three-way idea, teachers, school, and parents, as one system of teaching together, the parent, because not with today's parenting, it is more of offloaded to schools. They believe that when we are given them to schools, school will take care of all of things. So we need to some way get that handshake much fine-tuned. Then it becomes a co-shared responsibility, which is what so our idea is looking that part of discovery and building on the spaces which can narrate onto the a real impact of involvement and engagement of parental community to these schools.
Thank you so much, Yogi. That was a great point on how we can co-create learning experiences by bringing the parents community and the school community together. And just like the millennials and Gen Z say nowadays, your answer was deep. Okay. So let's go to Akrik, Ranjit, and Yogi. Yes, Akrik, Ranjit, I have a good question for you around how a dialogue on spatial autonomy, natural integration, and architectural flexibility, like the central open aisles, preserved old tree canopies that you showed, and the modular layouts, impacts how fathers and children experience learning together. And do you think that grit and messy exploration are educational requirements for healthy development? Over to you. Ranjit, you'll have to bring your microphone closer.
And messy exploration is part of the learning experience. Without doing that, the
Hmm.
kids they won't. Without learning, exploring, they don't learn basically. So in that case,
Hmm.
the spaces which we create, the outer space like the work, playing under the tree, climbing the tree, there's a this type of risk taking happens only with the father being around. They feel much more safer there, and he is the one who encourages to do those type of activities like climbing a ladder. So these type of activities we need to bring. And when it comes to spatial autonomy, from clients' point of view or perspective, like what they don't like to be constrained into one square or one particular room. At least they want to have visible connectivity. They want to have a free moving all around. They need to explore whenever they see out of the window. They learn something. They are the very good observers. So this type of natural integration, spatial autonomy, like where the spaces are very free flowing, easily visibly connected from either to one person to other or to the nature or to outer world basically. If we keep those things in place, I think that will be much more. It will help the children, the child, to learn on this aspect.
No, I agree to Ranjit. And no, the interesting part is when you look at kids, kids don't know the boundary lines. When I
Yes.
go and explore, so I don't know what is the structure of it, how it's going to get to the end of it. So for them, that's a curiosity and exploration. So you like, a lot of kids like to open the devices. So I used to open a lot of tapes and tape recorders when I was kid. Okay, I never know how to reassemble that. I can open that door, cannot close this. So kids have that innate curiosity. So when we talk about structured way of education, where Dr. Ken Robinson very clearly told about how school skills creativity. No offenses, Mr. Vinay. So the idea is because the innate nature of curiosity is to keep exploring, and versus when there is a structured binding comes to you, you start bounding that this is not possible. As adults you had tried certain ways and which did not work, and which is what you believed that would not work for others also, and that's what the binding comes out. Versus times has changed. Every year, every 5 years, the world is changing around it. And so when you look at why do we have to studying this many behaviors of zen alpha, zen beta, zen z's, all of that, because that's changing behavioral aspects based on technology advancement. So what working for us was not going to work for them. So innately you have to give them a very blank canvas where they can explore themselves, and probably we can just be an observer and see what's working, what's not working, and
We
then
can
probably fine tuning it.
always be a guiding figure for them.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at the kind of questions which comes out of mothers vis-a-vis fathers, they are kind of very starkly different. So mothers are mostly wanting to know about academics, what's happening, whereas fathers are much what Yogi Bhai spoke about higher order thinking. They're more worried about life skills. They're more worried about whether the child is happy or not. Those kind of questions we do get from fathers. So in case when it comes to creating these spaces which will bring together the father and the child, I think something around life skills, something around a lot of fun, could be messy, could be, tug of war, could be anything, where a father and son could do things together, or the father and daughter can do things together. I think those kind of spaces will are very much welcome. And not only that, if I talk about, a branding of a school, in case if they happen to have such spaces, that will also go on to show that the kind of pedagogy it is trying to advocate. So it's not only that you come here to do, ABCD or experiential learning, but it's also about trying to do something which otherwise, if you're living in an apartment or living in a society, that you will never get that space to interact with your child in that way. And also when you do it in a community, so that will never happen otherwise for you. So it's a wonderful idea, and I think needs much more exploration than what exists today.
Great,
Uh,
great suggestions for all the school founders watching this live. Abhinay sir, thank you for suggesting that idea. And this calls for the closure of this theme. And let's move on to the next theme that is quite interesting: dismantling the enforcer myth. Okay, so the big question here is, how do fathers move beyond the past classic wait until your father gets home parenting style? So the first question comes to Abhinay sir, that how to integrate social emotional learning into a father's daily vocabulary, how dads can validate big emotions rather than just offering quick fixes or discipline. Over to you.
I think the only way to do this is educating everyone around us. So whether it be teachers, whether it be ourselves, whether it be the principal, the leaders, or whether it be the parent. I think a constant education, because I'll just give a small example. In usual a patriarchal household, when somebody cries, especially a boy cries, they say, "क्या लड़कियों की तरह रो रहा है?" That is how we all have grown up. Possibly, we all come from, Hindi speaking heartland. That has always been the case. But it's just that the people who were saying this to us, they didn't know any better. Not that they really wanted to put down a gender in comparison to the other. It's just that they didn't know any better. But now I think the sensitivity to the idea that, people do suffer from anxiety, people do suffer from constant comparison, people do suffer from ideas which might not have happened to you, but it does exist. So I think educating people on that front, and also as parent realizing that the fear as a stick has stopped working, and then you get to see the results which come out later, because you've been bringing the child in a certain way, showing him the fear of the father, or whosoever in the house, who happens to be have a dominant voice. So I think educating people over and over, Akshay, and in the way how schools can do this. Can they do it through orientation whenever they get a chance to interact? Can they send some collaterals to the house, which people can read? Can they make the child do something in order for a parent to get oriented? Oh, this also exists. Or sharing stories through social media, or, different ways is the way to go about it.
Sir, I'll tell you, while we were given projects in schools, okay, it was always on the Sunday late night that we go, oh, we have a project to submit tomorrow, and then my father had to rush to bring those. I remember building a periscope, and my sister and my father, they had to sit and build that. So what you were telling, parents have to be involved, fathers have to be involved, that is now getting innate into us.
No, and I echo with Abhinayji about is if you really look at today's context, it is definitely changing. Of course, in India, like the fashion comes from metro to goes to rural. Similarly, this when you are getting a nuclear houses, this system of being very conscious and sensitive to the parenting is also shifting down, because
It
and that's
is,
why we
it
are
is big time.
choosing as a because and we are choosing like that we want only one kid, two kid, not more than that.
Mm.
And you wanted to have a high focus on their build and growth and everything. So we are reading, today people are reading before pregnancies. They're being conscious parents also, like when we're talking to Swati Popat and Leena that day, we're talking about parenting to be licensed, so it's about also an awareness that you really be a parent, because you can and you should is a two different part of it. So when you're really taking that responsibility of being parent, what all you need to really look into,
True.
how and how would we really look at the very small detailed nuances of that, because when you're really building one more human, or developing a human, it takes a lot in today's world. So earlier it was much easier into rural areas because it's a complete village who's raising the kid. You're learning from different examples and societies and all of that. Okay, and you're learning it from a real life context. Versus today, it is because nuclear family, two people, then there is the school. That bridge is only this, and that's why I say schools would be continued to exist even if whatever AI or technology can come, because the social context cannot be found out. You know,
Absolutely.
you can read and learn anything, but you cannot learn how to handle humans. That's one very important part, and that's why school as a community going to exist for much longer. You would eventually reverse it out when it's going to be overdone. You have to go down to real humans. Like you today, we're respecting more of handmade than a machine made. Similarly, it would be more human interacted than machine interacted. So it will eventually go a different way, because as humans, as Homo sapiens, we are social. Until the point that context is not learned and agreed or experienced, the learning would never be absorbed. So that's where I feel that the world is going to eventually move to.
So,
True.
uh, thank you so much, Yogi. Ranjit, could you please share how the act of making and building things together serves as a natural, low pressure gateway for deeper father child emotional communication?
The art of building is like
Uh,
more of it is more of interactive spaces where we have to create for them. It's like when I said the kids and fathers spending time on small activities like bird watching, might be the observing of the what is it, birds, small beetles go around, then like naming a tree actually, on that adds a lot of value to them. These type of interactions, just like once we go, when we drop off the kid, it's like only we are stop at the gate, rather than like we create a small buffer point where like it's more of a inclusive space. These type of spaces which create a low pressure gateway, and it can also build a little emotional communication between the dad parent. And usually, what happens? Uh, it is like it's a last it's a rush hour for them to go to the school. At the end moment, they might do some way of checking. Okay, have your pencils and all those. And so even so to accommodate those type of final checks, at least I would be better to keep some sort of buffer spaces, some sort of some what is it? Yeah, the transition space.
So actually, on that also, what I really feel is when father gets time to kids, that's
hmm.
itself becomes special. So be it in activity engagements, then it becomes super special. But because you got a very small windows to work around with fathers, and when you see mothers every day as a kid, if that they are homemakers, there is a different story and tunes around it. So when you get that special time, because I know I was in hostel, and the time I used to get with my father, it was anyways overjoyed. And with fathers, when they come with liberty. So their mother is saving a penny, their father is spending extra. So you always like to have that, your wish and demand, so there is a guy who's going to fulfill for me. So eventually that starts becoming a special moments for you, and they're so emotional that today I still know those moments with my father. And all of us who's growing, so those childhood moments with our father is specialized because the time was been given in that particular frame. So that time is one part of it. And second, because they are not very all of the males are not very spoken, but when they're engaged in activity and they know how they have done it, so like you said, dismantling or redoing the cycles or washing a car in morning with them, or anything, and all those kind of activities which we do with our parents, fathers. Okay, it starts giving us that confidence that I can also do that. Okay, so how a human eventually starts building what he or she wanted to be. So that is also some scenes which starts building around. Okay, so that's where this connection starts, going much deeper, because you don't speak much, but you do with them together, and that experience leads that establishments in the brain somewhere. So like driving the car or any of like you're reciting that poem,
Mhm.
that कि पीछे जोर से पकड़ना is the first live lessons on the scooter, or instruction we get from our parents. So all these are there, so I think those are very strong foundational build, which gives us a tick of confidence and validation that I'm shaping myself, and that confidence is what lead from those kind of activities. So which becomes relevant from time
Absolutely.
and the engagement. Yeah.
Quite an applause for the answer. Thank you so much, Yogi and Ranjit. So I have a great interesting point coming up. So I'm clubbing these two themes of the last session, like last phase of our session. So we'll have a round robin. Okay. So now they have written. There are some practical ways where schools can structurally involve dads, shifting from standard moms clubs to collaborative dad and me weekend design spirits, school farm builds, and community maker days. So, what is one simple, actionable, spatial, or cultural change an active father can start at home tonight to deepen connection with his child? Abhinay sir, first your take.
So I think I was just reading about it. If you look at UNESCO Sustainable Development Goals, and it speaks about 20 odd areas where a child needs to get attuned to whatever is happening around the world in order to meet where the world is heading to, whether it be climate control, whether it be water conservation, whether it be recycle. So such great ideas. And regardless of whosoever does it, whosoever plays a role in terms of creating, making the child conscious about it, is welcome. So whether it be school, whether it be teacher, whether it be the parent, and obviously fathers have a large role in making a child understand these ideas. So if somebody is looking for such ideas, then that is possibly this could act as a starting point. Planting a tree, taking care of it, going to the school and figuring out what all is there. Schools can create days where the parent, the father can come and plant a tree along with the child and make them responsible for taking care of that plant for a period of time, understanding the biology of behind it, understanding the part that the tree plays in the ecology or the biosphere. So all of it can start from there. So if just a quick fix is understanding the child's place in the world and how to stay more conscious.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhinay sir. Ranjit, over to you. The same question. Could you please bring that closer?
Yeah. See, it's not only the dad and me being the hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So, what is one simple, actionable, spatial, or cultural change an active father can start at home tonight to deepen connection with his child?
Okay, I would like to say that it's not from the one side from like dad to deepen connection. Like I'll give you one incident which happened to me in the school. Kid, there was one kid who loved the space very much. He didn't want to leave the campus. He graduated from that kindergarten. He was supposed to move to the other campus. So he asked his father to come and speak to the school authorities so that he wants to stay there. So this is that bringing the child, bringing the uh, parents to that for that involvement is what it makes. That even that aspect also we need to take care.
Hmm. Hmm. Nice. Love for that campus. That will bring the parents to talk to school authorities.
Yeah, love for the campus is important, and the parents or the dad should feel that as part of that. He should feel that as part of the campus.
Hmm. Right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ranjit. Over to you, Yogi.
So I have few ideas, in terms of an spatial setting, probably, but I don't know, whatever we can create in our house where that conversation can happen. That could be we can figure out a place where this kind of father daughter, father son, or that conversation can happen. So can we figure out a space which is cozy for both of them to have some deep context conversations. So when you are that space, you want to have a deep context, use this. So that's an spatial arrangement. So whenever we need that discussions, we'll go in that place. So because then that starts becoming spatial. It's have more higher memorized emotional connections. Okay. Second being, as a father, I would say the cultural or the thinking which we really need to, like Mr. Abhinay clearly told about UN development goals and the world approaches. I would really assert upon a father to really see what the gift the kid has. Okay, now can they really, really, really look that deeper? Can they have conversation around it? Can they, let them show the spectrum available in terms of their own choices as a person? Okay, how do you filter between what is right for them as an individual or not? Okay, so that gift observation of kid, because and telling them that the exams are not the ends, or that pressure of framework based development, that education is going to end into an occupation, versus education is actually self elevation. So if someone can, that father can give that kind of conversation, that what is their gift, because they are observers and they continuously observes. So if all of us can agree, and even Ranjit or you or Akshay or Abhinayji, we are working in organizations and we can observe and see who's doing what. So and there's a lot of things which comes to us, and with our kids also we can see where their interests are coming, where their interest is not coming. And can we look at a career around it? Can we dissect it? Can we choose that when the choice is left, where the next choice is coming? So can you see the patterns? So all these frameworks helping them figuring out the gift. So that's a cultural thing which I would say, fearing out of getting the fear out of the exams, and really individual development, and how do that contribution connecting to a real societal change as a human. So those are deeper questions, which is what I feel a father should have with kids within a spatial setting, in particular house or places. So yeah.
So, Yogi, while you were saying that exams are not the end, it reminded me that yes, dad should also start a Pariksha Pe Charcha series with their kids, not just one man on a radio, and they should have a Man Ki Baat at their home.
All the time, all the time.
No, so it's a very important, because I think we still are still obsessed with the certification as an Indian society. We are still looking for those mark sheets as a result. Um, Today, the career choices people can have with the different interdiscipline and transdiscipline is immense. We cannot even imagine today. So I always give an example of guy who's designing cameras for Apple, kind of passion, kind of engineering, kind of focus, kind of things he would have. It's a different interdiscipline altogether. And we have kids growing in our houses which with this kind of different interdiscipline transdisciplines. We just need to observe what they are doing. So they may be emotionally very different person versus technically different person. With the life skills, they could be something else. So you might be having someone who's a food engineer, which may not be a word even discovered yet or invented yet. We're going to work in the world where there's job which is not discovered, technology which is not invented. So and that's all homegrown. We just need to be sitting as an observer, trying those dots to connect for them, and giving them that connection and handshake that it's okay to really look at that kind of point of view also.
Perfect. Perfect. So I guess it's we session with so many thoughts here, and thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the parents, fathers, mothers, families, school educators, architects, and designers who attended this session live from different parts of the world. And thank you to CIVOM for organizing this session. And this session was about celebrating the fathers and educators who are redefining what it means to lead a family with heart and hands. Thank you so much, Yogi. Thank you so much, Ranjit. Thank you so much, Abhinay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Shivam. Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ranjit. See you.